BFDI branches in both 2023 and 2024 has been an absolute roller coaster. We saw the creator of the show that inspired this game play it while also catching a literal cheater in the game. While these 2 years have been very eventful in their own right, they are nothing compared to the amount of things that happened in 2025. Because what if I told you that the amount of blocks and decorations, also known as elements in this game, have already surpassed 500? What if I told you that not a single D10 level has ever been made after No Place for Fire throughout the entirety of 2025? What if I told you that someone made a level called Hatsune Miku? Yeah, let's just say 2025 was a big year for this game. And it was all kickstarted with Team Branches releasing a trailer of the 0.2 update, a highly anticipated update that was teased all the way back in August of 2024. Lapis even made a Christmas song about this update.
I just want the branches update.
In the trailer itself, they showed us a lot of stuff, including this new enemy, acid, multiplayer, and also a few other minor things, including the very infamous blue bricks. Now you'd think the update will come out February, maybe March. But even after multiple months, update 0.2 was still non-existent. And that will be the case for a very, very long time. It's now February 2nd, 2025. It was on this day that I sent out this community post on YouTube, saying that I would grind at No Place for Fire, the hardest level in the entire game, and try to become the first victor of No Place for Fire. Before we get into any of the history, I need to first explain how we split this level. This level is split into 4 quarters. Q1, from the start all the way to the sand section. Q2 is this section to the pirate ship. Q3 is from the pirate ship to these fans, and Q4 is after these fans all the way to the end. At first, I was basically getting personal bests every few days, with each PB getting closer and closer to the halfway point. And after a couple of weeks, I got my first Q3 run, which I immediately died to on the first jump. Q3 is one of the biggest bottlenecks of this level, because even though it's a very short part of the level, at least compared to Q1 and Q2, it has some of the hardest jumps in the level. For example, the first jump of Q3, you'd have to time your jump to avoid these spikes and land in this 1 block gap. Then you have a very small amount of time to jump, then finally do a precise header on these bricks. And that's just one out of the many other precise jumps in not only Q3, but the entire level. There's also another jump I want to talk about, but I'll talk about it later. Even though I was at a sort of bottleneck at this time, progress was still being made, just slower, getting closer and closer to the next and last quarter of this level. But before that happened, an entirely new update came out. And to explain what this update added, you first have to know a little thing in this game called the spike raise. Spike raising is a glitch in BFDI branches that was discovered in August of 2024. This glitch allows you to land on the very edge of a spike block and refresh your jump without taking any damage or dying. The way you do it is by jumping and running towards the spike block, then you fastball and pray that you land perfectly on the spike at the player's maximum running velocity. Then all you have to do is press jump. The glitch is possible on both Fiery and Leafy, with the coiny and pin spike raises being humanly impossible because of their hitbox size and their character speed. Prior to the new update, the spike raise was possible on both the normal spike block and the depth spike block, sometimes allowing users to find an unintentional route in a level. But after the new update, the glitch was patched on the normal spike block. Instead, they added 2 secret spike blocks, and these spike blocks are actually possible to do the spike race. But then players found another variant of this glitch, which requires you to use vertically moving spike blocks instead of non-moving spike blocks. And this form of the spike race is actually still possible on the new update even without the secret spike blocks. Then, a random user pointed out that this variant of the glitch was also possible with all playable characters, including Coiny and Pin, which the normal spike race was impossible to do on. Anyways, after over a month of grinding, I finally got to Q4. Oh. Alright, let's talk about the elephant in the room. This jump right here. This jump may look quite simple, but it is probably the most devious jump in the entire level. You first have to do a jump after falling off this platform, then after getting to the peak of the fan, you have to fast fall, and this is where the hard part of the jump comes into play. You then have to press jump on a very specific window. Too early and the jump just won't happen. Too late, then you can't do a full jump. What we need is a full jump, then a second jump. Then finally, you make it. You have to do all of that in an already immaculate run. No pressure at all. Even though this jump was incredibly difficult, I did eventually get to Q4. And after some more time...
Wow, I got to quarter 4. I was doing some runs, and I kid you not, I got to quarter 4. No!
While I was still grinding this beast of a level, a new person started grinding this level. His name is Boxy Lol. Boxy is less known for playing levels and more known for making levels. He currently has around 60 spotlight levels and is only behind the Mushroom Fungus and Jackie Russie in the amount of spotlights made. He is also known for having an entire page of spotlight levels, 16 to be exact. Boxy started grinding this level in around March, and after some time he had beaten my PB by one singular jump. He will be important later, trust me. At this point I was only grinding level every few days, as the grind went from I can't wait to beat this level to can I just beat this level? I was not having a good time to say the least, and this continued for a while until around April when I was just scrolling through a leaderboard, and that's when I saw someone that was new on the leaderboard, who had claimed to get all the way to mid Q4, which is all the way here, and he wasn't even in the top 10, or even the top 20. You see, remember that random person who found out that you can jump on vertically moving spike blocks with all characters? Well, that person is... According to him, he had past experience playing a game called Eternal Towers of Hell, and has beaten a map in that game called Tower of Generational Failure. And also according to him, he started playing the game in July of 2024, and he bothered making an account until April of 2025. Before that, he had beaten 5 separate D9s. And this was actually the first time I felt a spark of motivation. Finally, some competition, I thought. But that motivation didn't last very long. Not only because I didn't like playing the level, but the game itself, honestly. The game was getting stale at that time, to say the least. The game at the time was only getting 1 spotlight level per week, and also all the spotlights were practically all fiery only levels. And the game didn't even receive a small update for a whole month at that time. And also because a certain other game took my attention away from branches. And that game is Barfy's Adventure. And to understand what that game is, I got way too good of a Barfy's Adventure player mix program to introduce what this game is.
Did you know that Barfy, the main programmer of BFDI Branches, has another game called Barfy's Adventure? It's like BFDI Branches, except it's actually good. In this game, you play as Barfy himself, who's on a quest to recollect his gears. With the ability to dash and wall jump, the movement is already miles more interesting than Branches. There's also a shop where you can buy and equip really awesome things, such as Jonathan's super hat. And most importantly, just like Branches, there's also the ability to make your own online levels. Like this one, right here, Webby took...
So thus, I decided to take a break from Branches for a little while. While I was gone, Mushroom Fungus 5 achieved level ID 20,000, almost a year after ID 10,000 was reached. So, after all of this, who would be the one to beat this legendary level? Would it be me, Boxy, or Roberton? Well, it was actually none of them. Supersonic though completed No Place for Fire on May 21st, 2025. After 276 days, someone other than 10X was finally able to say that they had beaten No Place for Fire in BFDI branches. To put into perspective on how long it took for a person to beat this level after the verification, not even Bloodbath from Geometry Dash took that long. And after he beat it, the other contenders in the race were bound to beat it in a month or two. And not even 3 weeks later, on June 2nd, 2025, Robertson finally beat NPFF after 2 fails at the last jump and over 20 fails in mid Q4. And we're still not done yet because only a month later,
I never knew. Yes.
unfortunately for me, after my PB, I wasn't able to beat the level or even get a PB. And to this day, that's still the case. A couple of weeks after Boxy became the third victor of NPFF, BFDI branches became 1 year old. They showed us some teasers for update 0.2, which has yet to release. They also brought back the Hello World foreground in the shop, which we now know is only available on the anniversary of branches. They also announced Branchy Awards of 2025. It's a ceremony hosted by Team Branches to celebrate the first year after the game's release. The premise of the event was to award people for their accomplishments in the game in 37 different categories. The ceremony would have 3 phases. In the first phase, people would submit 4 entries in each category, which they think should deserve to be nominated or win in that specific category. The second phase was a voting between the nominated entries, of which people could only choose one option. The third phase was the announcement of the winners and runner-ups of each and every category. The first phase began on June 22nd and ended on June 25th. The original date for the second phase was set for June 29th. However, Team Branches at the time was quite busy, which delayed phase 2 all the way to July 27th and closed after 72 hours. The third phase was then announced by Mr. Twister on August 2nd in the Branches Discord server. In total, Branchy Awards of 2025 took 41 days to finish. While all of this was happening, Robertson, the guy that was the second victor of No Place for Fire, was shooting up the leaderboard. When he beat NPFF, he was only around 20th on the leaderboard. But then he slowly climbed up, first into the top 15, then top 10, then he beat me, then he got into the top 3, and then only around 2.5 weeks after grinding this game, he became the #1 player in BFDI branches. But he wasn't done yet. He continued beating levels non-stop until on July 28th, 2025, when he had beaten every single spotlight level in the game at the time, meaning he basically 100%ed the game. Now you could argue that in order to 100% the game, you have to beat every single level in the game instead of just spotlight ones, but it's just not reasonable. There are over 20,000 levels in the game, more than 10 times as many as spotlight ones, with some levels not being possible because of the spike grades shenanigans I talked about earlier. Now today, in April of 2026, he is still at #1 on the leaderboard, but he now hasn't been every level in the game, because as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to catch up. Some levels like Juxtapositive would take months to beat. Combine this with all the other levels, you can see why it's impressive that Robertson is still at #1 right now. So, with that, that's the history of BFDI branches. That is, if not for this post made by Team Branches on September 19th. It reads, tune in to Mission Spawn's channel for our BFDI Branches podcast on September 20th at 5 p.m. EDT for information about our plans for the rest of 2025. The version 0.2 update will also be released the same day, shortly after the broadcast ends. Yeah, 0.2, the same update that people have been waiting for over a year, was finally released. And not only that, but they also announced a bunch of stuff that was planned to release in 2025 in the broadcast. For example, teasing both 0.3 and 0.4 before 0.2 even came out. And then after that, the broadcast ended. 0.2 was released on September 21st, 2025. I'm not joking, I remember waking up at like 4 a.m. that night to watch this broadcast. And as for the update, to say this update didn't disappoint is a huge understatement. They added a new shop in the same place for the Gelatin shop, multiplayer, new neon decorations for every existing decoration, new enemy, new soundtracks, new routines, new level backgrounds, and the beloved blue bricks. Jokes aside, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I've been referring to all difficulties beyond D7 as D7, D8, D9, and D10. But officially before 0.2, the difficulties were called D7, D7 plus, D7 plus plus, and D7 plus 3. Also, around the same time we got 0.2, the BFDI Branches website released, which contains news regarding new updates and showcases all of the characters. Also, remember Branchless, the website that sorts levels by difficulty? Well, that website has been replaced with this one, as this website also displays the hardest levels and the best players. Then Team Branches just started adding tons of new updates within the span of a short amount of time. Firstly, 0.2.1, released on October 12th, which added neon bricks and new neon walls. Then 0.3, released on October 15th, which added some autumn-themed blocks, 4 new soundtracks, the jump cloud, and so many new level icons and decoration elements that it probably exceeds the triple digits. Then update 0.3.1, released on November 30th, added pink buttons, keys, etc. Even more new decoration elements and new QOL updates. Then 0.3.2, released on December 20th, added the input display, new variants of the jump cloud, and as per usual, many new decorations. Then 0.3.3, released on January 3rd of 2026, added a ton of new routines for stuff like if you're walking, running, jumping, or if any kicks are collected, etc, etc, etc. And finally, update 0.4, released on January 31st of 2026, was the update that turned Branches into basically a game engine. They added who knows how many new routines. Routine slots, which are the number of routines you can add in a level, increased by an order of magnitude. They also added routine groups and just so much more stuff about routines, shaping BFDI Branches into what it is today. Before we end this video, I want to talk about some upcoming things in this game. Firstly, 0.4, which, as they said in the broadcast, a BFDI Branches side quest, which I think most likely means new event-themed main levels, which is kind of insane. And at the start of 2026, they announced at Text Object Hangout 2026 a mobile port of the game, one of, if not the most requested feature of this game. The release date is still unknown, but I'm glad it will be released probably in March or April. And that's the end. That is the history of BFDI Branches. No tricks, that's the end. One last thing for the end, yes, all of this history is absolutely nuts. From insane accomplishments to insane new updates, but none of this would have been possible without the entire community. Robertson, who beat No Place for Fire and is now currently the top 1 player of Branches. Supersonico, who made the Branches website, hosted a ton of collabs, and is one of the people behind Team Branches. And lastly, Mission Spawn, the reason why the game even exists. There's also all the admins and moderators making the game a safer environment, all the top players pushing the game to its limits, the spotlight level creators who are constantly making levels to make the game fun, and just so many people are contributing to this game. And with that, that is the history of BFDI Branches. Thanks for watching.